Dallas is going the route of getting the depth pieces, which is something they didn't do last year, which is why we're 7-10 and picking in the top 12. You know what I mean? So we're doing the depth thing. My thing is, I don't know if we've gotten significantly better with impact players. And I still think that they're still banking on the draft. I think that we've done a great job of restocking the depth to be good enough to be a playoff team. I don't know if we've taken enough steps from a personnel standpoint to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender.
You go, boy.
Whoa. Hey, this a vibe, nigga. Whoa. Woo. Secure the bag, I need more. Hey, 3P, Jordan. Whoa. Woo. I can't keep it on a low. This a whole vibe. I don't need a plug, no cosign. Thinking out loud, that's a gold mine. Mask on, yeah, COVID-19. Baby mama, yeah, looking like Rihanna. Rest in peace to George, rest in peace Brianna. Still kicking like Van Damme with my niggas in Amsterdam.
Mongo,
what's up?
Lot to talk about.
Woo.
It's your boy.
You go, boy.
You already know the vibes. Virtual. I'm at my palatial estate somewhere in the Garden State. Mongo is at an undisclosed location somewhere also in the Garden State. Miss you, buddy.
Miss you, man. How's everything been going?
Our schedules are not allowing us to be within each other's presence. But we're making it happen.
Absolutely.
A lot to talk about, man. NFL draft is 33 days away. The Super Show, we will be in person for that, so you bet your bottom dollar about that. Free agency is here. A lot has happened. A lot of trades, a lot of signings, more rumors on the way. Let's dive first into some of these trades, man. Geno Smith is a Raider. DK Metcalf is a Steeler. What trade really caught your attention and has you really thinking, okay, this could be something? Raggy.
The trade that stands out to me right away because it's got the highest, all the fireworks are lit, and just we're either going to have a grand finale or just an absolute dud because there's a huge eye here, is the Metcalf trade. I think, Pittsburgh is now one of the most unique things we have going today because that's a really good 52-man roster and possibly Mason Rudolph throwing hook shots from scrambling from his life. I mean, it's a really weird configuration they have there now. And, I mean, if they figure out what to do at quarterback, that team is nasty. I mean, that 7 seed is to me fairly wide open in the AFC. There's no reason they can't get in there. And then they can make a run. They can just try and outshoot their way. No defense in the AFC, totally scares me. I would feel very good if I was a Steeler fan, but I'm one piece away from, or the wrong one piece away from being 4-13. Now, as somebody who hates nothing more than when my teams go 7-10, 8-9, I'd love being a Pittsburgh fan right now because either I'm a serious contender or I'm right in the Arch Manning sweepstakes. So, I gotta love it if I'm Pittsburgh. I think they're doing it right.
Yeah, I mean, really no shocker. I really believe Pittsburgh was going to get some more playmakers. There were rumors that they were in on Cooper Kupp. I wouldn't have been surprised if that would have happened. I think DK Metcalf fits the Steeler way, the new modern Steeler way of they're just trying to get as many playmakers on the field as possible. I still like Freiermuth from Penn State. He's still a really good underrated tight end to me when he's healthy. George Pickens, when he's not a complete maniac or lunatic, he still is a playmaker, down the field. You can't deny that. I think DK fits in well with what they're trying to do of just getting as many playmakers as possible. Listen, the North is full of them. Jamar Chase just got all the monies, and T. Higgins just got all the monies in Cincinnati. They still can't stop anybody, but they're still going to put up 30, 40 points a game with Joe Burrow under contract. And, you got to be able to match that firepower. Baltimore, King Henry's there, with Lamar Jackson, of course. And, they just got Hopkins. We'll see how he fits in to the mold. I still think he's got a little bit of juice there, and I think he's going to work well with Lamar Jackson, and Bateman and Andrews. You need to be able to score points. And then there's the Browns. You need to be able to score points to contend in the AFC North. And I feel like this is a great move for Pittsburgh. Now, like you mentioned, quarterback. What are they going to do there? I'm hearing reports that they are in on the dart sweepstakes from Ole Miss. That I think that would be a legitimate swing. I don't know how I feel about Milroe out of Alabama. I still think he's got some developmental issues going on with mechanics, and yeah, he can run, but I just see another Anthony Richardson. I really do. Just a super athlete, like, who can do all the things, but yeah, he throws the ball and you don't know where the hell it's going, and I don't think that's sustainable at the quarterback position. At least Dart, yeah, he gives me some Zach Wilson vibes. I know you're loving that, but
Don't do me like it's too early in the show for that. Don't do me
I know. I couldn't help it. But of all the quarterbacks that could be with the boom or bust potential, if I'm the Steelers, why the hell not just throw another, no pun intended, another dart at a first round quarterback and try to see right there and try to get your guy now, because the longer you wait, the stopgaps aren't going to do it. You want to roll out Russell Wilson for another year. What you already know what that's going to get you. I mean, we'll get to free agency moves with our respective teams, the Cowboys and the Jets. I mean, Fields is in New York now, or New Jersey. He's in Florham Park.
He's like also in an undisclosed location in the Garden State. And Justin Fields all stuck in the same purgatory.
Literally. He had to pay a $15 toll just to get home, just like myself.
If you speed through it, $15.
Exactly. So, I mean, we'll see what that looks like at the quarterback position, but I really believe that until Pittsburgh figures that out, and they need to figure it out this year. I mean, the sooner the better, because with each and every year you don't have a quarterback, you could just pencil in that you're not going to be a legitimate contender. I don't care how many points you put up during the regular season in spurts, and their offense was clicking at times with Russ, but as the season went on and as we got into the playoffs, Russ just ran out of gas, and it wasn't working. And there's a reason why they got dog walked at home by Cincinnati at the end of the season, and why they look so bad in the playoff game against Baltimore, because again, they just don't have that position secured. And until they do, Pittsburgh's not. DK Metcalf's great. I love me some DK Metcalf. He's one of my favorite receivers under the radar in the league, but you need a signal caller.
Yeah, I think it's also worth. I mean, I have Baltimore still winning that division. Almost by default at this point. I think the other three teams had way more interesting off seasons, but in what we usually consider to be like the workman AFC North, these are three of the more probably higher up on the power rankings of teams that could implode this year in Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh. You don't really have the time to wait around and either develop the wrong guy or just have a true bridge. Like if I'm Pittsburgh, if I'm a Pittsburgh fan, I'm glad I didn't go the Daniel Jones route. I'm glad I didn't go the Gardner Minshew route. Now when Aaron Rodgers, or even if the Atlanta finally moves on from Kirk Cousins, that's a little bit different because you're kind of going an all-in one-time type of maneuver. That's sort of the opposite of that. But a mid-career bridge guy was the worst move, because they need to. There's not enough time for any of those three teams, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, or Cincinnati, to sit around and wait any longer in this division.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, it's like it's bridge guys. I mean, Cousins he's just living his best life. The man literally just gets paid to just show up to work. He's like a toll booth worker in New Jersey. He's very consistent. I'm gonna be here. Easy passes here, but I'm still here too. Just collecting a check. And it's just like, I don't think that's a viable option. The Rodgers to the Pittsburgh Steelers, I really think he's going to retire. Famous last words. He signs with Pittsburgh tomorrow, but it's just like I don't see Rodgers taking the Steelers over the top. I just don't. What he showed me with you guys last year in spurts, yeah, a little bit of the magic is still there, but I think his best years are behind him. He's pretty washed to me, if you want my honest opinion about where A-Rod is right now.
Remember when I dreamed of him leading us to 12-5 and getting wiped out by whenever he played, Mahomes in the playoffs last year, I still had him retiring this offseason. Like, the fact that he's now coming back to try and prove something shouldn't change the fact that I didn't think he could last more than 1 year to begin with. So no one is going to tell Aaron Rodgers no at this point. If he wants it, it's his, especially because you mentioned Milroe, like, man, getting rid of Najee Harris and bringing in Metcalf, you need a guy who can sling at this point. You don't really have much by way of no offense to Warren, but you don't really have much by way of a safety blanket back there. You need someone who can sling, like you said, put a point in that wild north right now. And Rodgers does that. Now, he's probably going to ruin the game with an interception at least twice a month, but you're going to have a lot of fun losing 40-30.
Yeah. And it's like, man, I mean, I get it. I mean, there are reports that Rodgers is kind of just holding out hope that Minnesota allows him to, fulfill the Brett Favre arc and go over there for a year of all in or whatnot. But I don't see it happening. I really believe that the front office and coaching and O'Connell as well, they want to see what they got with J.J. McCarthy. They have to find out if the kid can play or not. You spent the first round pick on him. And that's the thing with first round picks and first round quarterbacks. Like, they're going to play. I mean, even Rodgers said it himself when they drafted Love when he was there, and went on and won another MVP just to spite him. He's like, they drafted this guy to play him. I know that I'm on my way out. Like, I'm not gonna, they re-signed me, but it's just a matter of time before they've drafted my replacement. It's like you're at a job and you're showing the replacement. Yeah, so this is where the break room is. Oh, okay. All right, and this is where my cubicle is, which will be your cubicle. You see what I'm saying? It's the same logic, So I don't see Rodgers going to Minnesota. I don't see him going to Pittsburgh. I don't think he plays next year. I really don't. And if I'm wrong, I'll clip this up and put the bozo circus music behind it. Oops. You know what I mean? But I don't see it. I think this is a lot of smoke and just not enough fire for me.
I will say this. The next time we talk, if Rodgers is a Pittsburgh Steeler, I think we're having the conversation about what that means for Tomlin. Right. I think to me, it's an act of desperation if they do it. And to me, a guy who feels like I haven't done anything in 9 years is more inclined to go and get Aaron Rodgers than somebody who feels like, the seat is not in any way warming. So I think it'll be a telling signing either way.
Yeah, agreed. And, shifting gears again to the Geno trade. I mean, Pete Carroll, he's got the biggest piece of bubble gum in the world. He's still chewing. He's over there in Vegas now. And, kind of a similar situation. I mean, Geno's in line to get a new contract. He's going to probably get about 40-ish mil. I don't think he'll break the 50 mil bank, but, depending how good his agent is, I don't see, even when he was in Seattle, I'll never view Jet Geno or Seattle Geno. I'll never view him as one of those ones. He's a guy that you can win some regular season games with him. You can knock off an elite team from time to time. And in terms of the deep ball, he still does throw a good deep ball, but consistently playing and beating the best of the best come tournament time and competing for a championship. Nah, that'll never be Geno. That'll never be him. And, he's going to go to Vegas now. If I'm Vegas, I'm still drafting a quarterback. If I'm in position and I love Shedeur Sanders or I love Cam Ward and they're there or I love Dart, do it. Still draft your quarterback. Because if you think you're going to roll out there with Geno for the next 5 to 10 years and compete for a Lombardi, you still got this guy named Mahomes in your division. You still got this guy, Herbert, who at moments, and with Harbaugh, khakis and all, they're still going to be a playoff contender, and they're going to get their act together. They made it to the playoffs this year. They didn't do much. But, I just don't see Geno as a long-term answer in Vegas, and they made the trade, but they made the trade mainly because Pete Carroll. That's why they made the trade. Let's just keep it.
No, you're absolutely right. Here are my two major trepidations if I'm a Raider fan. The first is we're throwing back the clock here big time. Pete Carroll goes back and gets his buddy, and Pete Carroll goes out and gets an absolute masher running back in Raheem Mostert, right? That's how he does it, right? And the problem with that is let's go to the totally opposite side of the spectrum for a minute. The Golden State Warriors lose to LeBron's Cavs for the first time, and you say, all right, we're going to run that back, right? There's an obvious time to say, let's run it back. when you're the oldest coach in history, saying let's relive the glory days is not the time to say let's run it back. Your time has clearly come and gone, buddy. You got to adapt or else you don't belong here. That's why people don't coach at this age, because they don't adapt. And so trusting that that's the guy to say, oh, we're going to run it back to my days. Well, strap on the leatherheads. I mean, this is not going to work. We know this traditionally doesn't work when somebody that antiquated says we're doing it my way. So that's my second, that's my first fear. My second fear is, I mean, now again, as much as I agree with draft a quarterback, man, you might just take 7 wide receivers here. This wide receiver room is atrocious. And also now, Geno did not have great tight ends in Seattle, so maybe it's a personnel thing, but he has not been one to be known for using his tight ends. Brock Bowers is your best set of hands by a mile in Vegas. If he continues to try and force the issue to those mediocre wide receivers and doesn't use Brock Bowers, forget it. This is just a terrible football team if Brock Bowers gets misused or underused on this team.
Yeah, I mean, and we're jumping all over the place, but we're virtual, and this is what we do, sports talk. But I mean, draft wise, I know you know about the Ted McMillan situation,
right?
I'm loving. Listen, I've heard Mel Kiper mock this guy to 19. I've seen some mocks taking this guy at 20. You know what I mean? I'm just like, Ted McMillan is not going to make it out of the top 10, and for damn sure he's not making it past 12. Because if you think the Cowboys are going to roll out there with Jalen Tolbert, Jalen Brunson, and Jalen Brooks, all the Jalens, as wide receiver 2 opposite CeeDee Lamb for another season, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Dallas is taking a wide receiver in the top 100. I'd be shocked if they take the running back. If Genty or Hampton, one of the running backs, is there at 12, they're going to take him. But if the wide receiver is there, you know what I mean, they're taking Ted McMillan. Ted is not making it past 12. No. All right. And for the Raiders, sorry to cut you off, but for the Raiders, it makes too much sense. You don't have enough. Like, Myers is your number one receiver. I'm sorry, Bowers, your tight end, is your number one receiver right now. You need somebody in that room. And if this Geno trade is going to make half of a modicum of sense, get a number one target. Go get Ted in Vegas.
100%. I was just going to add, he's not dropping, because if rumors start to become true that he is dropping, someone who could draft him at 20 is going up to get him. Nobody's taking that chance. You'd be an absolute moron to just trust that 13 through 19 are not going to just swerve to best player available. If he gets to about 14, you're just offering everything you got to move up.
Agreed. And we could stay on draft real quick. In terms of these quarterbacks, man, in terms of Shador, and in terms of Cam, in terms of Jackson Dart, we talked about it lightly. Milroe, Dylan Gabriel.
I like me some Dylan Gabriel. I'm not mad about it.
Tyler Shaw from Louisville. He's going to get a GM fired at some point. I
like the kid. I like the kid from Notre Dame for most likely to get someone fired.
Leonard.
I'm all in. If we're playing the who's going to get someone fired game, give me the kid from Notre Dame.
It's a toss up between him and Quinn Ewers, but I digress.
Oh, Quinn Ewers is in that game too.
And Will Howard is as well. If you saw his combine film,
it's a loaded field this year for who's the mistake. I mean, it's a great field if you're playing that game.
Will Howard had one of the worst combines in combine history. Like, it was hysterically bad. Historically bad, hysterically bad.
Third round to the Jets. You can just book it now.
Oh yeah, just lock it in. Just typical Ohio State quarterback. When you're not surrounded by 10 5-star players, you look pretty bad. Justin Fields, who's a Jet?
Hey, look at us go. We're nothing if not consistent.
But which one of these quarterbacks, Mongo, because Draft Super Show loading, the next time we'll be in studio will be for the Draft Super Show, but this is the Free Agency Super Show. Which one of these quarterbacks, if you had to bank, like, listen, I think this one guy is going to be a franchise quarterback, is going to be competing for Super Bowls. You can only pick one. You pick yours, I'll pick mine.
Am I starting a franchise in a vacuum on the moon, or am I staying within the confines of the NFL?
The NFL, outside of the UFL, no rock included.
I asked that question with all the insanity I can muster, because I am going to stick with Shador Sanders. And the reason why is because Daddy won't let him get into a position
where he can fail, whether that be starting by getting some teams off his scent to begin with so he goes to a good spot, whether that be getting him out of a situation, knowing that even if he has to take a wash contract-wise to get out of a bad first situation, Dion will make sure that the odds are in his favor, whereas the other guys, any of these guys could easily end up getting destroyed behind what's left of the Raider O-line or anything else, or God forbid, end up a Jet. And so, I think Shedeur has the advantage of he's the most, missile proof right now out of this group. If I'm starting a team in a vacuum, I like Jackson Dart's just talent alone over all of these guys. I think he's got a little bit of Justin Herbert to me, where you just roll him out there and see what happens. Just good things seem to happen when Jackson Dart is your quarterback more than these other guys, and I can't justify that beyond. This is where the "tell me when I'm telling lies" soundbite would play in studio, right? Just look at any quarterback and tell me either is this a guy you trust or a guy you don't trust. And it seems to work out more often than not in knowing the outcome of the game. I think a lot about, right, every time Rodgers had the ball with under 3 minutes in a game last year, now he was a guy you used to be able to trust. Now, that he's old, you knew what was going to happen. It was a foregone conclusion by about week 10. Oh, we're down 5 or less with 3 minutes to go. It's been fun, everybody. I'm going to go start raking the leaves early, right? Jackson Dart right now has that it about him in the right direction where you can definitely trust him. But, I don't have anyone far enough ahead to a point where Shedeur Sanders' advantages, family-wise, don't give him the absolute edge to me.
Yeah. I think, I'm going to go with some bias there. I'm going to go with the kid that was who's working out with Tom Brady in middle school and in high school. I'm going to go with that guy. I'm going to go with the guy whose dad is the Michael Jordan of defensive backs. I'm going to go with that guy. I'm going to go with the guy that has been looking at NFL defenses since puberty hit. I'm going to go with Shedeur.
Yeah.
I am. Because I believe, and I'm not hating on Cam. Cam's grown on me. I wasn't a big Cam Ward fan at the beginning of this process, but I like the film. I like the leadership. I like the swag. Give me a guy give me the cocky asshole quarterback any day of the week that we're going to beat those guys. And he brought that to Miami, and that's kind of a prerequisite when you go to the University of Miami or Ohio State or a lot of these big name schools.
Right.
You got to have the personality to go with it, but Shedeur, I just believe, I'm just looking at the mechanics, looking at his game. Does he take a lot of sacks unnecessarily? Can the pocket presence and the feet, can it be better? Yeah, because these guys are rookies and they're gonna be coached up. Like, newsflash to people that believe that what's our favorite word? Generational. Like, newsflash. If you're a rookie at any position, you need to be coached up to match the game speed of the NFL. All right? I don't care how much NIL money, I don't care how much training, I don't care about how much nutrition, I don't care about steroids, I don't care about PEDs, any of that stuff. The game speed at the NFL is light years ahead of the game speed in college football at the Division I level, and these guys are going to have to develop. It's called draft and develop for a reason, So, but I look at the traits, and I look at what the right coaching system and the right system, offensive system. I'm gonna go with Shedeur because he just looks pro style ready. He looks pro style ready in every metric or whatnot. And do I believe anyone in this class is the G word, is generational? I don't think so. I'm not getting those vibes. But again, to answer the question, which quarterback do I think is going to be competent, going to win a ton of games, and going to compete for Super Bowls in the right system? I'm going to go with Shedeur. I'm going to go with the genetics. I'm going to go and again, I've seen it. I like what he did at Colorado. I feel like he got better each year. You know what I mean? I feel like he's developing and he's trending in the right direction. So I'm going to go with Shedeur as well. I just am.
Yeah, for sure. And I think just kind of alluding to what you just said about coaching and about systems. I mean, listen, I love me some Aaron Glenn, but there's no reason to believe he's going to be here more than 3 years. There's no reason to believe Pete Carroll can last more than 3 years, with all due respect to him. I mean, given his age, New Orleans will need a new quarterback sooner than later. They're in absolute cap hell. Cleveland messed up its cap with the Myles Garrett signing. I mean, there's no reason to believe that any of these quarterbacks
are going to, over the 5 years of their rookie contract, A, not have to learn a second system, and B, ever be able to get talent around them. The whole point of the rookie quarterback is that you have the money around you. New Orleans and Cleveland won't, so I don't, there's really not many good situations out there. So the fact that, Shedeur has the best, backing behind him to force his hand into a good situation more than ever is an advantage, because there's not a whole lot of great fits in the top 10 for a quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like the video. We're right here, episode 62, Sports Talk, U-Goboy. That's me. And Mongo. That's this guy. Yeah, he's got the beard. I've got the goatee. I turned the beard into a goatee. I hope you guys enjoy it. For sure. I mean, shifting gears, we'll get a little bit more draft talk as well, but we got to talk about free agency as a whole, especially for our teams. Cowboys made a bunch of moves. So last year it was the all-in soft rebuild bullshit lie. This year there has to be a slogan. There has to be a slogan every year. Like this is just what Steven and Jerry and this is just the clown show that it is. It has to be that. This year it's selectively aggressive. You know what I mean? This is the sequel. This is Blues Brothers 2000. This is just what it is. So you got the Schottenheimer hire, which we both weren't real big fans of, if you guys watched the previous episodes. What I am a fan of, however, I'm not going to cast judgment. I'm a Dallas fan, so of course I'm going to root. I don't want my coach to fail. You're not rooting for Glenn to fail. We're just being realists at the same time. You want Arch Manning, but we'll get to you. I'm rooting for Shotty. I am rooting for Shotty. I'm excited about the staff. I'm excited about the guys he's actually hired and put in place. Clayton Adams, from the Cardinals, he's been on a bunch of like futures lists of like future head coaches. And in terms of like the run game for Arizona, he made James Conner look like a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? The run scheme that Arizona ran. Obviously, they didn't win a bunch of games because the talent it just isn't there. They don't have the quarterback with Kyler Murray. Like they don't have the talent, but they still can run the rock. They've always been able to run the rock. And when is Dak Prescott? I've mentioned it in a bunch of lives that I've done over the past few weeks and a bunch of shows that I've guest appeared on, and even on our show a billion times. Dak is at his best with a run game. Go back to his rookie year. Go back to his second in MVP voting. Should have won the MVP 2 years ago. Like when he has a run game, when he has a viable, efficient, dominant run game, you get the best out of him. You just really do. He's a better passer. He's more sure. He's more efficient. He's more deliberate. He's not really second guessing. He's not thinking as much. That's when boom, boom, bink, bink, bink. You're going to get your 3-to-1 touchdown ratio, which all the best quarterbacks are at, that 30 to 10 picks. That's all the top tier quarterbacks are at that. And that's when, and so if Adams can give me that, if Fisher, who came over from Kansas State, the offensive line coach, if Eberflus, the world's worst head coach in the world, but actually a really good DC. I mean, he had the Colts looking like a playoff team a couple years ago when he was there as a DC, as well as the linebackers coach. If the coaching staff can take a page out of the book of your words, Mongo. If we can make the offense and defense Schottenheimer and Jerry Jones proof,
absolutely.
Just like Philadelphia made their offense and defense Sirianni proof because they got the right staff in place and the right personnel. Sign me up for that, because you're not going to sit here and tell me that Jalen Hurts is going to go down as one of the 10 best quarterbacks that's ever lived. That's not what it is. What you got is a well-constructed coaching staff and a well-constructed roster that allows the quarterback, okay, just be efficient. Just don't turn the ball over. Just be efficient. Run the offense. Just do what you need to do. And yeah, you're going to have to make some plays from time to time because it's an NFL game, but just do that. Just don't lose it for us. Dak can do that. Dak can do that. And so with this free agency haul, again, Jerry Jones is taking a page out of the Al Davis. We love our first round busts, man. We love our Jerry Jones loves himself a good reclamation project. You got Elam from the Bills, first round bust. You got Turner from the Saints, first round bust. You got You got Murray from the Titans, first round bust. You got Fowler, who I don't believe is a bust, but in terms of where he was drafted with the Jacksonville Jaguars, they consider him a bust, but he just had 10 sacks last year. You know, I mean, he was good for the Cowboys his first time around when Quinn was there. Like, Dallas is going the route of getting the depth pieces, which is something they didn't do last year, which is why we're 7-10 and picking in the top 12. You know what I mean? So we're doing the depth thing. My thing is, I don't know if we've gotten significantly better with impact players. And I still think that they're still banking on the draft and signing out of the left field to do that. I think that we've done a great job of restocking the depth to be good enough to be a playoff team. I don't know if we've taken enough steps from a personnel standpoint to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender. What do you think, Mungo?
So my two big worries with the Cowboys, not to play a game of whose life is more depressing, but our boy Solomon Thomas, right?
Like that move.
Javon Kinlaw, Tack McKinley, the ghost of Tyron Smith, even guys like, Sauce Gardner, like actual talents, Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers. You can load up a team with 45 former first-round picks. It doesn't do you a whole lot of good. Just check with the 2024 New York Jets. So, that strategy has proven very recently to be very bad. But the other thing, I think of the 22 and the 23 Jet free agency classes. I think of 2022. That was the year, they went out and they got DJ Reed, and they Laken Tomlinson and all their big shopping. And I mean, they went out, they got Dan Feeney, Tevin Coleman. I mean, they went nuts. You're a free agent, you're ours. And then in 2023, after Tevin Coleman barely made the team. Dan Feeney was a spot player backup. Like, after a lot of that didn't work out, they overcorrected to 2023, where their two big free agent signings were Thomas Morstead and Wes Schweitzer, right? They went extreme the other way. And part of me wonders, after literally even the most casual Cowboy fan, smelling a rat on just how nonsensical that we're not going to sign anybody free agency was last year, how much of this is almost a social experiment style overcorrecting? How much of this is, we're going to go out and get names just to show that last year was truly a fluke, and this was part of a bigger plan all along? And if that's the case, you have a new coaching staff, you have a ton of new guys, you have a ton of questions in your receiving core, on your O-line, with Zach Martin finally retiring. Where's sort of your next legacy? In that sense, who's the face of the tough guys on inside? There's so many questions. If you're just going out and getting guys for the sake of getting guys, that could be chaos. And so I have some serious worries right off the bat about the Cowboys strategy here.
Yeah, agreed. I think aside from not doing anything because of the soft rebuild last year, I believe health ravaged by injuries. And everybody knows the injuries. But there were a handful of teams that you could definitely point to, like, whoa. I mean, you could notice the 49ers, whose Super Bowl window is very much closed. Mm-hmm. They're in the midst of their soft rebuild. We'll get to them very shortly after we get to the Jets. But I think the front office is banking on, okay, we can't have as many injuries as last year. We can't lose all our defensive line and all our offensive line and our starting quarterback and both corners. Like, we can't lose all of that again, right? Famous last words. So it's like they're banking on being healthier. They're banking on the draft, obviously. They always bank on the draft. I believe that these depth signings, these don't get it twisted. These are, and depth is very important. It's a long season. Injuries are going to happen. They're inevitable. But I think how far Dallas goes is banking on what it always banks on. If they knock it out of the ballpark with this draft, they'll be in the conversation of 10 to 11 wins. I don't think they'll get to 12 wins, but 10 to 11 wins with a healthy Prescott as well. Because Dak being healthy wire to wire gets you a minimum of 9 games when he's healthy wire to wire. Like, I just believe that. But I think that if they're not healthy, and if the run game's not there, and if the defense doesn't take a step forward, they're going to be picking roughly around it. They might even be picking worse next year. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm bracing for that. I'm bracing for them to, 7 wins last year. I'm bracing for 5 to 7 wins if these depth signings don't hit, if this draft doesn't hit, and if something happens to Dak. I'm bracing for that because, again, this free agency class hasn't been like stock full of like, oh my God, who's going to sign this guy? It's been very mid. You know, most of the guys that people thought were going to be free agents, they re-signed. Like Nick Bolton re-signed. Aaron Jones, who is still a really good, efficient running back, he re-signed. A lot of guys, Myles Garrett re-signed. He was supposed to be the apple of everybody's eye for a trade to just rock the NFL free agency frenzy world, and he just re-signed for more money because money solves all problems. You know what I mean? So it's just like you're talking about the likes of like Charvarius Ward being one of the highest paid corners, and Dre Greenlaw being one of the highest paid linebackers. Like you're talking about guys that are the top of the market right now, and you're just like, these are good guys. These are good players. It's just like these aren't like game changers. Not game changers. It's just not. You know, so roster building is at an all-time high, and you know, when we do our draft super show after those 3 days in April are wrapped, and we know exactly what our teams respectively did to go with free agency, I think we'll both have a very clear understanding of what to look for and what to brace for 2025. You know what I mean? But as of now, though, I will say that I'm more encouraged that they didn't do nothing. That like I'm at base level with Dallas.
Yeah.
Like, thank God you did the depth moves that you should have done last year that every team does. Every team makes moves on the first 2 to 3 days of free agency. No one waits to day 5 or 6 to just get somebody. And you realize, oh, we should probably do something on day 1. Good job. 2 thumbs up. They're like awesome. Like, but the work is not done. There's still moves to be made.
Well, I'll tell you, though, to your point about free agency this year, great job by the NFL of giving us hope for some reason. But with how many trades happened in the 72 hours leading up to even the tampering period, it was very clear that we were not going to have an exciting free agency. But with that being said, day 1 of free agency was really like day 6 of free agency this year because of that trading window. So it's almost like Dallas was still on their timeline. The rest of the world just moved its timeline up. So don't go giving Dallas too much credit. They were just kind of there when things were starting to fizzle.
Yeah, for sure. And Miles Sanders, former Penn State Nittany Lion, he's a Cowboy.
The Javonte Miles trade, man, is
the Williams.
I said it's like a thunder lightning, but the storm's in Florida where you never know if it's actually going to happen or not.
Oh my God! You know, we love to sign our quote unquote washed running backs. I mean, that tandem of
this is a perfect tandem. This is the ultimate Cowboy tandem. I'm so proud of them for this. This is a thing of beauty.
I told you this is the sequel. This is the sequel from the makers of Old Man Zeke and Old Man Dalvin Cook from Life. We're just running it back with part 2. This is Blues Brothers 2000 with Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders. You know what I mean? The Cowboys starting running back will be in the draft. It'll be round 1, round 2, or round 3. I mean, Gentry in a perfect world, but shoot, give me Junkins or freaking Henderson from Ohio State. Like, sign me up for one of those guys. Like, let's ride. Let's get to the Jets, and then we'll get to some more moves. And obviously, we'll end with baseball talk. You already know what we're gonna talk about with the Yankees. But the Jets, you guys signed your franchise quarterback in Justin Fields. I couldn't even say it with a straight. I couldn't even say it with a straight face. I couldn't even get it out with a straight face. So you guys get your franchise quarterback in Justin Fields' 2-year contract, by the way. Aaron Glenn gets his guy. He gets his guy, and you know, I think all systems are go. I think the Jets are ready to take off for a Super Bowl run. The floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here today to mourn the loss of the 2025 Jets.
You get a head start?
I'm just writing the old bit now. Gonna save me some time in a busy January.
Just do it in the chat GPT now. Let's get the ball rolling now. Let's not even waste time.
Just search 6 and 11, and Tyrod Taylor started 4 games and see what comes up.
You'll have to see it.
Listen, let's look at the positive side of this for a moment. anytime you can get a look at a first-round quarterback for less annually than what the Patriots are paying Milton Williams, you got to give the GM his flowers on this one. I will give them an A+ for finding a solution, and especially because we have a new front office, a new coach, a new everything, to get this in a way. Every Jet fan had at least 1% of their neck hair up, just waiting to hear we traded 3 second rounders for Kirk Cousins, right? There was that part of every Jet fan's belief, that was somehow going to happen. So the fact that we were able to get him Sam Darnold was getting paid, 4 times as much to go get absolutely rocked behind what's left of Seattle's offensive line. I mean, in that sense, we did very well for ourselves. But to me, the big problem here is there is just such a level of vanilla to this signing where even if he is who we believe he should be, like if we played this season 100 times out where he would fall more often than not, 8th in the AFC, 9th in the AFC. I mean, the team is still fairly devoid of depth. There's some obvious critical holes. They lost way more on free agency than they gained. They're still nowhere near Buffalo, Kansas City. New England did a ton of shopping. Cincinnati re-signed its guys, and, we know how much better they are when they're actually all happy in that locker room. We talked about Pittsburgh getting Metcalf. I love, what the Chargers did, bringing in Becton, bringing in Najee Harris, things of that nature. I love what Denver did. You kind of scoffed at Greenlaw before, but bringing in Greenlaw and Hufanga with that young offense, I think
underrated. It's great.
The one team that I think had an easy F, free agency in terms of teams we were hunting is the Texans with, what they did with their insane offensive line decisions. But all they're doing is just giving up their spot to another AFC South team, right? You're still fighting with the top 6. And, when our buddy Jason reached out to me about this initially, I said, you can just book it now with the 13th pick in the 2026 draft, the New York Jets select. Just get used to hearing it. I don't mind this signing. I think there will be some fun games along the way, but I think 7-8 wins is about your ceiling with this team as currently constructed. Now, I will say the one big thing, getting Engstrom to be our offensive coordinator from Detroit, he needs a tight end to do what he wants to do. Fields, if he's a young quarterback, should be having a tight end anyway. So at this point, to me, it's Tyler Warren or bust, not to keep going back to the draft, but there's not really many options left. Not many options left out there in free agency. So you're just, there's 3 options in the draft. Either take Tyler Warren at 7, successfully trade back and hold on to Tyler Warren, or accept the fact we're going 7 and 10. I mean, to me, it's pretty foregone. So I listen, I like Justin Fields. I'm excited to see what he can do. I think you have to consider the signing, B+, A- from what some of the other signings out there were, especially non-quarterback signings, relative to what we're doing. But I can't sit there and go, we're any better off relative to the other 15 teams in the AFC than we were before we signed them.
Subscribe to the channel, episode 61, Sports Talk. From one 7 and 10 fan to a future 7 and 10 fan, knowing that your team is literally the definition of mid. I mean, that's just
it's fair.
That's what 7 and 10, 8 and 9, 9 and 8. That's like football purgatory. Lord knows I was very familiar with that in the Jason Garrett years. Like, I understand like what that looks like and what that feels like. And really, until the front office has a clear vision, and that's coupled with the coaching. This is why you got to give Aaron Glenn his time and his staff time to see exactly what is the vision and what's the direction. Because if you don't have the direction and you don't have the vision from a staff standpoint, then you don't have the culture. And if you don't have the culture, it goes back to what we said in previous episodes, that you could get all the talent in the world. And you guys literally did that last year. You got all the talent in the world.
If they were taken in a first round, we went and said we'll do it.
Yes. I mean, you look on paper, you guys were a playoff team. You were a double-digit win team last year, like hands down. But again, this is why when I say coaching matters, when I say that to people that hate the Cowboys or, and believe that I'm just making excuses, that's how I know that they don't really understand football. Because you can't tell me, like, this is the example I used the other day on live. 2007, a year that still lives in infamy for a number of reasons. Dallas goes 13-3. They've got the best They've got really the second best overall team in the league. Patriots were the best overall team on paper and on the field that year. And ironically, the Giants won the Super Bowl. But that's neither here nor there. You know what I mean? You got the second best overall team in the league. You got the best overall team in the conference. Why was Dallas one and done? Because Wade Phillips had himself as DC and he had Jason Garrett as the OC. So by the end of the season, they could have played anybody. They were just like, we know what you're doing, and your staff really isn't good. You got a bunch of you got 13 Pro Bowlers, but you're not going to beat us. And then you fast forward the very next season, Dallas had 13 Pro Bowlers again. And they added to the roster. They had Pac-Man Jones. They had Zach Thomas. They had a number of guys that they had in free agency as well to buffer and go with what they just had with the 13 Pro Bowlers. They missed the playoffs because coaching matters. It 1,000% does. And, you know, teams hover in mediocrity, and it's 7-10 and 9-8 and the football purgatory. They hover there because the culture's wrong. You know, so, and this is what does give me hope, you know, for now, because Schottenheimer is 1,000% bought in. He said culture 50,000 times in his opening press conference. And I was like, well, I think I know what he cares about. You know what I mean? And he understands that with Mike McCarthy, the culture was shitty in Dallas. It was, you know, it was very similar to the Vikings winning 14 games or X amount of games or whatnot. And Kevin O'Connell is an outstanding quarterback coach, an outstanding offensive mind or whatnot. But again, like when you know that you don't have that extra switch to flip come tournament time, it doesn't matter how many regular season wins you get. You know, you're not going to beat the high end teams. You're not, because the coaching's not good enough. You know, so I think with you guys, your front office, your new GM, your new head coach, you know what I mean? What's the vision? What is the vision? That's the question I'm going to ask to every Jet fan, even next time I talk to Giant fans, you know what I mean, in passing or any team that is trying to get into the playoffs and get into that Super Bowl conversation. It's just like, what does your culture look like? What does your coach look like? What is your front office? What are they trying to do? Because it starts there.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I in that sense, I really like what I'm seeing so far. Listen, we're the same dude this year. It's the Spider-Man meme for me and you, buddy. Bringing in Steve Wilkes, to be our defensive coordinator, another defensive, genius who by no means is a threat to ever head coach in this league again. Between the fiasco that was Arizona and the fiasco that was Carolina, but a generally beloved guy and definitely knows his stuff. To pair him with a young defensive-minded coach is a real safe bet there. I love what they did, bringing in Chris Banjo to be their special teams coordinator, a guy who's worked with Aaron Glenn. That's genius. I like what they did here. Bringing in Derek Noddy, bringing in Stevens from Baltimore, guys who come from winning cultures, guys who, Noddy especially coming from the Kansas City dynasty is a huge win to put in the middle of that defense. Basically, Aaron Glenn went out and said, find me every defensive back from the 2021 draft, especially those who weren't great. I'm going to try and fix them. So Aaron Glenn is putting his professional ability on the line right away, which I adore. I love anyone who says, this is who I am. This is my specialty. This is what I'm going to perfect. So I really love what he's doing there. I do like for the most part, what their strategy seems to have been here, in terms of what Glenn says he can and, what he clearly is displaying he will and won't be responsible for. Again, my two big concerns here really are, I question the offensive coordinator. I'm so sour. Detroit was such a bust in the playoffs last year that anyone who touched that game has me on 4 alarm right now. I'm even out on Chicago, who, by the way, I thought Chicago to me is having by far the most overrated free agency. I don't know if we'll go around the league if we have time, but we fixed the O-line. So Yahoo's giving us an A. Oh my God. The rest of this free agency has been a nightmare for the Bears. And again, Ben Johnson scares me. Engstrom scares me. There's concerns on that side. Obviously we need to fix the O-line still, losing Morgan Moses and still not being sure what you're going to get out of Elijah Vera Tucker year to year, things of that nature. I'm still concerned, but I really like culturally what they're doing, trying to, instead of having just 20 semi-veterans, Noddy kind of really stands out as that true veteran. Aaron Glenn really trying to fix the secondary with guys that he believes he can fix instead of going out and buying them. I think, and obviously right now more than anything, you really need to make sure you impress Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson. So I mean, especially if Sauce says I'm not happy here, you might as well fire Aaron Glenn. If Aaron Glenn can't convince Sauce Gardner to stay on his sideline, forget it. Aaron Glenn has lost the locker room at that point. So Aaron Glenn knows what he needs to do. He's a smart guy, and I like a lot of what they've done so far. I just think they're devoid of talent right now. They're not ready to make that move. But I do like the early direction I've seen from the front office and this coaching staff.
Yeah, subscribe to the channel. This is 1000% the Spider-Man meme. Get your point on. Yeah. Get your point on. Point back. This is because, I mean, think about it. Dallas, we needed to re-sign CeeDee Lamb. Had to. No, I mean, it's looking like a bargain now with Jamar Chase's contract.
Sure.
Did that. We had to re-sign Dak, or else, like, all the fire alarms were going to be
right.
We did that. And we're about to give Micah all the money in the world. Literally all the money in the world and whatnot. Look at the Jets. You guys are about to give Sauce Gardner. He's going to look at Patrick Surtain's contract and be like, I'm as good as him. I am. I can do everything he can do. And that's debatable. I think Sauce is one of the top 5 corners in the league.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, I don't think that's really debatable. Like I'd start a secondary with the healthy Sauce Gardner for sure.
Yeah.
And he's plus, and on top of that, Sauce is going to look at like, what did Trayvon Diggs get? And he's hurt. He can't stay healthy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, come on. So you're about to pay him all the money. Garrett Wilson is looking at what CD and Chase and Justin Jefferson and all those guys got, and he's going to be like, I can do everything any of those guys can do. So, and I'm younger on top of that. So what's up? Or roughly the same age.
Right.
So if, again, and we said this the last time we were in studio together, if your core is not in mind with whoever you hire as a head coach, and whoever you hire as a GM, and whoever you hire as a staff, if your core is not the focal point, what the hell are you doing? What the hell are you doing? So I really believe both our teams, who I said coming into the season, we both agreed we're going to have new head coaches. Tell me when I'm telling lies.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
And here we are. Both of us have brand new head coaches, and we are asking the question, what is the culture going to look like? And ironically enough, we'll be at the game. Both our teams play each other next year.
I'm so excited for that one.
I'm so excited. We'll be on location for the
I'm so
live
ready.
for the,
so ready.
Like I'm so ready too. And it's like, so yeah, it'll be Will Grier versus Justin Fields. Hopefully Dak will be healthy. I'm just praying to God that he's healthy. But Dak versus Fields, part 2, because they played in Pittsburgh this year. That's and watch them make that a Sunday night game on top of that. You already know that. So but go ahead.
If you told me right now you just came back from the future, Will Grier was in that game, I can't be 100% sure which team he played for. I got to be totally honest. There's at least a part of me that says Will Grier might accidentally become a Jet at some point this year.
God, no, Jesus Christ. If that goes down with another major injury, if Dallas is going to draft I already think we're going to draft a quarterback this year, hopefully on day 3. Like I heard nonsense from Ian Rappaport. He's still busy having fights with Jordan Schultz at Starbucks, for goodness sake. Like he said that Dallas is in play to take Quinn Ewers in round 2. I'm just like, shut the hell up, bro. We're not taking Quinn Ewers in round 2. Like we just gave extensions to Dak, CD, and we're about to give one to freaking Micah. Like we're not looking at starting quarterback now. We're looking for a developmental quarterback. And if it goes to shit and Dak does get hurt yet again, this would be his 3rd or 4th catastrophic injury in the last 6 years. Like, yeah, trust me, the alarms and levers are going to be pulled because now it's health. Now it's the end of the Romo era in 2016 when Dak was drafted. It's like, yo, we love this guy. We love you, dog. And when you're healthy, you're one of the best, but you can't stay healthy. Yep. You know what I mean? Like we got to cover ourselves, but I don't think they're at that point yet. And, but to bring that point home, our teams are in need of culture shifts, both of them.
Yeah,
they're in
for
need
sure.
of culture shifts, and they're in need of overhauls roster-wise in the depth areas, particularly depth areas, because I think both our cores, you guys still need a quarterback. But once you guys do land and decide what that's going to be, you guys got pieces to work with. And I believe we got pieces to work with as well, But again, is the culture and the depth pieces, is it going to be enough to be contending for competing for a Lombardi trophy? We'll see. We'll absolutely see. Draft show on the way. Mongo, our Lord and Savior, Gerrit Cole.
Whoops.
Out for the year.
Uh-oh.
Tommy John surgery. Again, shout out to Digest Media. Yankees Digest bring you all things New York Yankees. The guy said the whole thing like a Tribe Called Quest. I cover the Yankees for that lovely organization, so I was already on top of them. I kind of knew about the Tommy John probably like a week before it dropped, so I was kind of in the know already. But it was confirmed, obviously. Cole's out for the year. Mongo, is the season over for the Yankees? Is it over? Is it just is done?
No. And the main reason is if I was running a marathon by myself and I blew out my ACL, I could still win that marathon. The bottom line is I'm not terribly worried about the 14 teams chasing them, and that's the main reason it's not over for them. I mean, Baltimore, to me, got worse with their pitching staff. Boston got better, but you never know when a team makes that many moves, how long it's going to take them to get it to gel. They might naturally be 1 year away. Tampa still hasn't scared me. Toronto is going to be all sorts of chaos dealing with Vladdy. I think the division is still super winnable. I don't think, the entire Central is scrappy, but until somebody actually beats somebody of value coming out of the Central in the playoffs, they're just the early 2000s Twins over and over. And, that whole division right now is the Spider-Man meme, right? And then please put Seattle in the playoffs. I don't trust them at all. Put the Rangers in the playoffs. Let their 90-year-old pitching staff get injured. I mean, the Angels aren't doing it with Kenley Jansen, and as their big resign. I mean, who should I be afraid of, right? So I think the Yankees' 84 wins will get you in the playoffs, and I don't particularly. I'm not worried about anyone from there. With that being said, I get we have no money, but am I surprised we haven't seen a move yet? Kinda. I get that we're rolling. I guess the plan is just let Carlos Carrasco go 1-5 between now and Memorial Day, and in 8 starts, let him go on the injured list, and then hope Chase Hampton is ready by then. I don't really know what they seem. No one's saying the name Carlos Carrasco enough for the amount of times I think we're going to see him lose a game 7-3 in the month of May. But here we are. Listen, I'll say it. I'm Team Trevor Bauer at this point. Go find the man. I'm so in on Bauer at this point. Listen, you're in New York, the one place where his antics will be oddly charming relative to the rest of this bizarre city. So I would go get him. I do not trust a world where Will Warren starts 25 times for us this year. And so something is going to happen, whether that be, like a Paul Blackburn of the world makes himself sneakily available or something. But again, to me, if you don't have the Yankees as number one in the AL, I think you start the question with who do you have number one in the AL now? And again, you can certainly make a case. I think the field is closer now, but you could not sell me on anyone as a universal, absolute number one better than the Yankees right now. So no, I definitely can't say the season's over by any means.
Yeah, I mean, like the video. I think the fact that we signed Max Fried looks even better now.
Oh, money.
Honestly. Like, I was so excited. I know you were too. We talked about it last time we talked about baseball, having that 3-headed monster at the top of the rotation. I was very giddy, like a freaking Catholic schoolgirl over that. I was like, man, that's going to be fun to watch. But now Fried is an all-star pitcher. Fried is a borderline Cy Young pitcher, when he's right. And this is what you paid him all the monies for, to be a frontline guy. You paid him to be a number 2, borderline number 1. You know what I mean? And now with Cole going down, that's what he is. He is that. You know what I mean? And then some. Obviously, everybody kind of just moves up a tick in the rotation. Rodon was money last year. That last year was easily Rodon's best season. And he stays healthy. He has facial hair now. All the Yankees have facial hair now.
It's great. Great to see. I can play for him now.
Yeah, we both can. Like you got to imagine that he again, health is wealth. Health is everything. And do I believe they're going to go out and get another bat at some point? Yeah, of course they will. Like, I mean, unless DJ LeMahieu for 162 games is still the plan, but I don't think that's possible because he's injured right now. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he'll be disqualified from that by game 1.
Literally. I mean, Stanton, you have no idea if Stanton's even going to play this year. You know what I mean? And it's like, I just don't want this to morph into, Bellinger has looked really good. Ben Rice has looked amazing this spring training. I mean, it can't be Judge and a bunch of guys. It can't. Guys are obviously going to have to step up. I do believe they'll add a bat as well as an arm at some point. I don't know if they're going to wait until the trade deadline or if they'll do it before then. I don't think they'll do it before opening day. I don't really see too many impact guys still out there. I think everybody's pretty much found a home. But I think after the first month, or after the first 2 months, Cashman will have a good idea of okay, we can weather this and let's go make moves or we're screwed. But to your point as well, I don't see any other dominant teams in the AL. I just don't. I don't think the Astros are just going to magically become the cheating Astros. I'm sorry, the non-cheating Astros of years past. I don't see that happening. No one in our division. I think Boston will be better this year. I do. I think Boston will be better. I will. But again, a ton of moves, like you said, going to take a while for that to materialize and manifest. And turn into what they want it to turn into. You know what I mean? And your biggest op is not even in the AL. Your biggest op is in the NL, is on the other coast, is the wannabe Yankees, the Dodgers.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the Japanese World Baseball Classic roster, the Dodgers. That's your biggest op, and you only have to play them once. Really, realistically, you want to play them twice. You want to play them once during the regular season, you want to play them again in the Fall Classic. But you don't have to play them 16 times to decide the division or whatnot. You have to somehow navigate and get back to the Classic, and then run it back and see if you're good enough to beat them in 7 games. As of right now, I still give the edge to the Dodgers. I think they got a better roster. But, a lot can happen between now and then. So, again, we'll have a better idea once the games start counting for real. Opening day's right around the corner. I'm going to talk to Adnan Virk, try to get him on the show for a third time. I'm pretty sure he'll be down for it, as well as possibly us going to the MLB Network studios. It's in Secaucus. It's in Jersey. He told me the invite was open.
I tell you what. Let me give you my schedule. I'll tell you what days I'm busy, and that'll pretty much lock in Adnan, because somehow Adnan Virk has only managed to be on the show when I can't make it, which is very rare. I've been on literally all but 2 of our sports shows, and it's been the 2 that Adnan has been on.
He wants to meet you so bad, bro.
I don't know how I'm doing this, but somehow that's playing out. But hey, listen, I do need to say real quick, I have been on. I always refer back to that random, I refer back to when Chris Parmalee randomly was winning games for us in May a few years back. The Yankees, and obviously Shane Spencer is the most extreme example, 15, 25 years, whatever it is, 30 years ago at this point. For a team that has had wild success the few times they do pull a guy out of nowhere, the Yankees, for whatever reason, will always use that extra AAA spot on a 22-year-old kid who the Twins have given up on, who you've never heard of, because they want to be right, over just stocking up on depth. And every time I see and I can't think of all the names off the top of my head that I saw this year, but every time you see Joey Lucchesi signs a minor league deal with the San Francisco Giants, and you're like, why are we the only team in baseball not doing this? And then you see a world where, man, I could sure go for 6 starts from Joey Lucchesi until Luis Gil gets back. If you could sign me up right now for 2 and 3 with a 4.3 ERA from Joey Lucchesi between now and June 10th, yeah, in a heartbeat. Are you kidding me? Every other team does it. Every other team stocks up on these guys who you're like, I didn't know that guy was still playing. And the Yankees won't. And I don't know why. And it bites them every freaking year when we hit these early injuries. And it is infuriating. You almost have to be a casual fan to be a Yankee fan, because if you start to watch every name coming off the free agency, because it's not like football. In free agency, there's 9,000 guys in free agency in baseball. And you're like, oh, that guy's still playing? Oh, that guy's still playing? Oh, Joey Gallo's now an available pitcher? That guy's a free agent.
Bartolo Colon is still
and you watch and you're like, why are the Yankees just no offense to whoever, we have guys in AAA, utility infielders batting .230, but hey, they can play shortstop in case we ever need it. Yeah, so can 40 other guys in the farm system. You know what we can't do? We can't pitch around here because we don't have any pitchers above the age of 20, it feels like. So, it's been a weird systemic choice for this team for, basically the Cashman, not even era at this point, generation, and it's infuriating.
We got Joey Lucchesi at home. We got Carrasco. That's all you need to know about that.
Joey Lucchesi is what Carrasco was 40 years ago when he was 25, 30 years old.
Oh man, our other Lord and Savior Luis Seal, he was supposed to weather the storm with another Cole injury, and he's out for 3 months with that injury. He'll be back though.
Yeah,
he'll be back though.
And in a world where the fifth pitcher is so questionably not necessary through April with the weird schedules, add in a few bullpen games, add in a few spot starts from the Will Warrens of the world, I feel like Heel's absence is actually fairly overcomable. It's not just because it's not just the talent between Cole and Heel. It's the first, and honestly, it's not even Heel. The first starting pitcher who gets injured, you're like, that might be 25, 26 starts we're going to have to make up. The second guy who gets injured, that's 32 starts you were looking at, right? The 4 of your guys you were expecting a full, a completely full, palette from. Because that fifth guy, you can mess around with how you reset at the All-Star game, things of that nature. You can afford to lose a few starts. When that second starting pitcher goes down, that's trouble. So, they're going to have to accommodate for that for sure.
Absolutely. Yankees, we lost our number 1 and number 4 starters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to get our 1 back, but we are going to get our 4 back at some point.
Important.
So I think that it's doable. All right, Mongo, let's do some rapid fire real quick and get up out of here. We're already over an hour, but who cares? I mean, I miss you, dog. I miss you, buddy. Miss you, buddy. So let's do 2 or 3 rounds each, quick, and then get up out of here. I'll kick it off with some rapid fire. This episode of Rapid Fire is brought to you by UGOBOY merch. You see the merch. The face, the hat.
Oh no! You're shopping.
You're Clark Kent with his glasses on instead of his glasses.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, we don't allow. We have a dress code in the Mongo layer. Who knew?
It's all good. All right, Mongo. First question, real quick. How many wins will the Mets? Forget about them. How many wins will the Jets finish with this year?
7. It's a 7-10 season for sure.
For sure. All right, your turn.
Hey, I gotta add, Joey Bosa to the Bills. I've been trashing the Bills forever. Big deal, medium deal, no deal. How worried should I be?
He can't stay healthy, man. He just can't. Like he's gonna miss games. It's just he's the Tyron Smith of like pass rushers right now. So he stays healthy and plays. If the Bills can get 12 games out of him, that's being generous. If they can get 12 games out of him as well as some playoff action, it's a win. But I don't think he's going to stay healthy, so I don't think it's that big of a deal, to be honest with you. I know. Do the Eagles repeat?
No, because I'm not convinced they won this year. I still have Kansas City winning the 2024 Super Bowl. They're a really good team. I think their path to an NFC championship is way easier than saying is an AFC team ever going to repeat. Just statistically, I'd feel better about if the Chiefs had won. I feel better about the Eagles being the yes here, but I'm still going to say no because if you told me right now, say something very, hand in the sand down, I feel confident about it's that the AFC wins the Super Bowl next year. The NFC is not coming out twice.
Ooh. Tell me when I'm telling lies. All right. I think it's your turn.
Yeah. Hey, I know this is a little off track, but does the winner of the AFC South have a winning record this year?
Barely. I'm gonna go 9-8, baby. This isn't the NFC South. Okay, this isn't that foolishness. The AFC South is a division of respectability.
It's pretty rough though. It's just 4 offensive lines that are made of washing machines. I mean, it's a pretty wild division.
I don't know what the Texans are doing. I just don't. Maybe we talked about it lightly, but I have no clue. But I think someone's gonna win 9 games. I don't know who. It's not gonna. They're one and done regardless.
If you're the 5, you're playing for the right to beat the AFC South.
Exactly. They're one and done 1,000,000,000%. This year was a fluke with Houston beating up on the Chargers the way they did. But if they replay that next year, the Texans will 100% lose the game. so yeah. But yeah. All right, my turn?
Yep, go ahead.
All right. So what's your favorite draft? What's your favorite running back in this draft?
Yeah, it's I can't sit here and say Genty's not the best one. With that being said, Hampton is my favorite. I mean, it's a pinball. I mean, the kid just bounces off of stuff.
Yeah.
He's the most fun to watch. If I had the first pick in the draft, and I had to pick a running back, I'm still taking Genty. But who am I
going to have the most fun watching, it's probably Hampton. And listen, I will also say I'm in a dynasty, fantasy football league I've been in for 20 years with my high school buddies. I have, I think, 3 or 4 picks in this year's draft. We've had a couple rounds. I'm only taking running backs. I'm in love with this entire running back class.
Agreed.
Hampton's the funnest, but to me, Genty's the best.
The last mock I did, I had the Chiefs took Hampton. Like he slipped somehow to 31st. And
that's over. It's been fun, everybody.
Yeah, it's been real. It's been real.
A lot of fun.
But I'm with you. Love this running back class. Again, Dallas will take one in the first 3 picks. You can book that with a stamp. All right, last one, and then we'll take it on home.
Okay. Oh God, if this is the last one, it's you know what? I'll keep this serious. I have a good one, but I'll keep it serious. Most overrated free agent signing of this free agency period.
Oh my God, there've been a few of them. Lord have mercy, there've been a few of them. I can only pick one though. I'm gonna go with a trade.
Okay.
I'm going with trade. I'm going with Tunsil to Washington because the Texans had one of the arguably they had the worst offensive line in football last year, and Tunsil was a big part of the problem.
Yeah,
and I feel like CM Punk cutting the promo in Vegas. He's like, "You people cheering are as big of a problem as the people booing." You know what I mean? Like Tunsil was a part of the problem. Green was a part of the problem, and both of them are gone. But Tunsil going to Washington, the Commanders think they're about to go 25-0, and I just think Tunsil's best years are behind him. That's just me. I think he's still adequate. He's not washed. He's not trash, but I don't think he's all world. He's not a top 5 line tackle anymore. He used to be. He's barely a top 20.
Yeah. No, I
top 15.
I like that one. I got to give a quick shout out here. The one that worries me really is Josh Sweat to Arizona has me a little concerned. We saw it with Bryce Huff to Philadelphia this year, right? I warned everybody, listen, he's good because he's the 5th best guy on that line. No one's keeping an eye on.
Tell me when you're telling lies.
Run back the tape. And listen, Josh Sweat, really good player, but has definitely been – the Eagles naturally are rotational. If they plan on Josh Sweat playing 90% of those snaps, man, I'm worried about him. And listen, they went out, they got Baron Browning, LJ Collier. If they're just going to let those guys eat snaps just to keep Sweat rotational, listen, great decision by them to just go out and get cheap, filler guys in that sense. But if they're seeing it as a true depth chart where Collier and Browning aren't going to play much and, get their couple of sacks they get and expect Sweat to, do it on twice as many snaps, it's not going to happen. I worry the Cardinals are going to misuse him there because when do the Cardinals not misuse somebody?
Facts. Jonathan Gannon, I'm rooting for you. I am. But all right, but that does it here for this episode of U-Goboy Podcast Sports Talk. That's Mongo. He's got a beard. That's me. I've got a goatee. Get the merch. The Draft Super Show is on the way. Hope you guys enjoyed the free agency and trade and pre-draft Super Show. We love you guys. We'll be back in person before you know it.
Yes.
Peace. Yahtzee.
Whoa. Hey, this a vibe, nigga. Whoa. Woo! Secure the bag, I need more. Ayy, 3P Jordan, whoa. Woo! I can't keep it on a low. This a whole vibe. I don't need a plug, no cosign. Thinking out loud, that's a gold mine. Mask on, yeah, COVID-19. Baby mama, yeah, looking like Rihanna. Rest in peace to George, rest in peace Brianna. Still kicking like Van Damme with my niggas in Amsterdam.
You go, boy.
Yahtzee.